After a week off after the Indianapolis 500, IndyCar's back at Detroit for the first of two races this weekend. There were some scary moments, there were some dramatic moments, there were some extremely stupid moments. And unlike Will Power's motor, I'm fired up about it. Let's get into it. Okay, I know why you're here, but first I really want to say first and foremost that my thoughts, and I hope all of your thoughts, are with Felix Rosenqvist right now, who obviously suffered that terrible crash about a third of the way through the Detroit Grand Prix today. While it hasn't been totally confirmed, I think the video does a pretty good job of giving us a pretty good idea that it appeared throttle stuck, car went straight into the wall. Felix was extricated from the car, but was awake and alert, and apparently has no life-threatening or limb-threatening injuries. In fact, has full function in all four of his limbs. So that's great news, and obviously, again, I want to extend all of my well wishes to Felix Rosenqvist, his friends and family, his team. Hopefully we'll see you back at the track very shortly. Okay, Detroit. So, just going to say it, Will Power got robbed. 100% got robbed. And really what it comes down to is, okay, let's just set the stage first. So you had a crash with a few laps to go. I think it was 6 or 7 laps to go. Romain Grosjean got into the wall. Yellow flag comes out, and then the red flag comes out. Now there has been precedence for this before. In fact, they've even done it at Detroit. I think they did it around 2017, 2018, one of the races that Graham Rahal won. Bring all the cars down for the red flag, and Will Power suddenly starts screaming that he needs fans on the car immediately because the ECU box is going to burn. And IndyCar officials hold Will Power until all the cars get to the pits to shut off, and at that point it's too late. When they go back to fire up the car after they've cleared the wreckage of the Romain Grosjean accident to restart the race and have a 3-lap shootout, some might call it a green-white checker, Will Power's car does not fire up, and ultimately the win is given to Marcus Ericsson. And before I go any further, I want to play Will Power's comments at the end of the race because the American audience did not get to see or hear these, and I think it's very important to kind of hear what he had to say before I kind of say what I have to say.
I'm mad at IndyCar because I'm the first car in, and they wait for the last car to come to get a fan on that car, and it roasts the ECU. And just going red flag for starters, like, the guys up there in race control never listen to any drivers. They never listen. They don't care. We've given them so many good suggestions, and they don't care. And it's just, I worked my ass off today to have this happen. Like, I'm screaming on the radio, we need a fan, get a fan.
And it wasn't for you, it was for the car.
Yeah, because the ECU always overheats. They wait for everyone. These guys have still got air coming in their car. Like, you work your ass off in this sport, so much money goes into it, and it's just dumb decisions like that. Like, oh, man, if it's not a yellow they throw, it's some stupid idea like this, a red flag. Yeah, he gets the same luck too, man.
Sorry, Will. Try again tomorrow, as you can see. And what you didn't see is the immense frustration from a race that was there and didn't come to fruition.
Okay. So, to be honest with you, I think that ultimately this was a red flag that was unnecessary. And I think, unfortunately, because the waters have been muddied, especially this year for whatever reason, because now even Formula One is doing it. But it all began with NASCAR in the mid-2000s. They started doing this sort of thing where they would red flag the race to try to get a green flag finish. That eventually morphed into the green-white checker. IndyCar started doing it in 2014 after everybody was bitching about the Indy 500 finishing under the yellow. They've started to do this a little bit more as time has gone on, and now even Formula One has started to doing it, like I mentioned. So, again, there's precedence for this. But I think we have to start defining red flags. And it's so stupid because, to me, a red flag is a safety flag, period. It's either course conditions are too bad to continue, or you've got an injury you have to take care of, or you have to repair the track. To me, those are justifiable red flags. Every other red flag to me is unjustifiable. So, ironically enough, unfortunately enough, we had both examples in this race. We had a justifiable red flag with the terrible accident of Felix Rosenqvist, where not only you had an injured driver, but you had to repair the circuit, and it would have taken a considerable amount of laps, a considerable amount of time to do that, and you would have been robbing the public of an actual race. And I get that that's the justification for this unjustifiable, in my opinion, red flag. But I will explain to you why, even in the entertainment argument, that this one wasn't it, Chief. So obviously, this is a doubleheader, right? So from an entertainment perspective, I'm going to guess that a very small minority of the fans that were there today are not going to be there tomorrow. So all the fans, or most of the fans, again I'm guessing, that were there today will be there tomorrow and will have more entertainment, more racing entertainment to watch at the track tomorrow. Same for the television audience. You know, again, it's not like there wasn't going to be another Detroit race tomorrow. It's not like this is like, okay, this is the last time we're going to race here for a year. Let's try to get the fans a good finish. In fact, the fans of the track still have an IMSA race, which is, I think, literally starting as I'm recording this video. So that argument from a fan perspective, especially those at the track, I'm not buying it whatsoever. And again, you already had a 1.5 hour red flag in this race to begin with. Were there a whole lot of casuals watching, especially with Xfinity going on at the same time, with a Cup driver in it? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what the TV ratings say. And then ultimately, the principle of the thing is that I feel like IndyCar should probably know better about their technology and their equipment. It's risky enough to bring the cars down for a red flag, to shut them off in normal situations, because race cars, particularly Indy cars, which are very technologically advanced, they can be very finicky. When you shut them off, especially after they've gotten very hot, sometimes things melt or things just don't want to crank anymore. That's why sometimes stalling in the pits will, eliminate you from the race, because your car just won't start. And after already putting the cars through this once, where the cars had a heat cycle, they started up, they ran for a bit, they stopped, they started up again, they ran again in very hot conditions. This was always going to be the result for somebody, and it's unfortunate that it was the leader of the race, the driver who looked like he was on his way very much to victory today, Will Power, who got saddled with that. And it's just disappointing because, again, it was an unnecessary... Because what really changed... I mean, I guess, well, what really changed was that ultimately a driver who was in contention for the win was taken out of contention for the win due to an unjustifiable red flag. And that, to me, like, I get it. Like, there's a precedent that modern racing fans have, right? That has been set and continues to be set throughout this modern era, which is, oh my God, we can't stop, or we can't run a race, or we can't stop, we can't end a race under yellow. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to happen. But to me, you already have that product, and that product is in NASCAR. And, it's not like their TV ratings are in the nosedive that they were, but their TV ratings are still down 7% over last year. And that trend will probably continue for a while. IndyCar, on the other hand, is coming off a race, the Indianapolis 500, which had the biggest TV rating the race has had in 5 years. It's one of the few major sporting events that's actually growing a television audience. And the reason for that is that IndyCar provides a different product than what is available in the motorsports market in the United States. God forbid if this had happened. Imagine if this had been... Let me put it this way. If this had been the Indy 500, Somebody crashes with 5. Let's say they throw a yellow for Simona. Remember when Simona crashed in the pits? They throw a yellow for Simona. And they bring everybody down. They have to throw a red flag because it's too late in the race. Everybody comes down, stops their motors. Leo's car doesn't refire. Like, imagine how unsatisfying that would have been. And it's kind of unsatisfying. It is not just kind of. It is unsatisfying that this race ended this way, and it's disappointing because ultimately the guy who will go home with the trophy is Marcus Ericsson, who I thought did an excellent job today. He obviously, Detroit's one of his better racetracks, but he did look today like he was a race winner. Potentially someone who could spring an attack on Power at the end of the race had it gone green to the end. Obviously it didn't. Well, it did, but it didn't with Power in the mix. And so I don't want to take anything away personally from Marcus Ericsson, because ultimately he's going to go in the record books. And I don't want to say that he didn't earn it either, because he drove a fantastic race. But it comes with the auspice that Will Power didn't have an opportunity to defend his win, when in reality the other 99 years of IndyCar racing, this would never have even been a question. And again, I honestly wonder, I guess some people have claimed that there was track repairs necessary with where Grosjean hit. If that's the case, I guess you can justify it a little bit more. But ultimately, I question when that crash happened with, like, what's 7 or 8 laps to go, right? That you can't just yank that car off the track, sweep that area very quickly, and get it back green before the 5 laps is off, and then you don't have to bring everybody down into the pit lane, shut them off, and turn them back on. This doesn't sit well with me. You know, and again, I'm not like completely ignorant to the fact that racing has to provide modern standards of entertainment. Like, I understand that that's part of the game now, but we have to be very careful that the things that we do here don't hurt the credibility of the racing. And I think ultimately today, and what happened today, hurt the credibility of the racing. Because in virtually any other circumstance, Will Power is at least second place, unless for some reason, you know, Ericsson dive-bombed him and crashed him, which I don't think Marcus Ericsson's the type of driver to do that, so that probably wouldn't have happened. So it would have either been Marcus Ericsson would have won the race, or Will Power would have won the race. But the way it went, or the way we got to the result of Marcus Ericsson won the race, it's disappointing. And I'm not saying that as you know, I'm not coming at it from a biased angle. I'm looking at this from an objective standpoint and saying this made IndyCar look bad. And in a time when IndyCar is gaining so much momentum, honestly. And again, this is something I wanted to make a video about, didn't have time because I'm back here in New Jersey. I'm kind of going in between Indy and New Jersey, getting moved finally to Indy, is that, you know, IndyCar is on a really, I really think they're in a good position, a lot better than I think a lot of people realize that they are right now. But you can't have things like this muddy the waters, because this is exactly the type of stuff I think in some ways people are running from other motorsports to try to avoid. And you start doing it here, it's just, it's disappointing. And also from the perspective of just the drivers having to sit there and bake in their cars, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. It was nice that on the first red flag they let them get out and hydrate and cool down. But yeah, it just not great. Unfortunately, just and it's sad too, because this race was really compelling. I thought Firestone did a great job with the differentiation between the red and black tires. I thought that really added an interesting dynamic. The fact that the surface at Belle Isle is so rough and tumble now that it's really a driver's track. You really get to see the drivers work. It's a compelling TV product, even if they miss the start of the race, which ultimately I'm not as mad as I usually am about those sort of things. I think it was just an unfortunate circumstance with the lacrosse game running long, and the fact that IndyCar and NBC didn't program any pre-race when they probably could have, because apparently they could just run as long as they needed to, because they could just kick the diving off whenever they wanted. Apparently they now know that, so just like budget in like 30 minutes of pre-race just so you don't miss any of the start of the race. But outside of that, you know, willpower got robbed. There's no doubt about it. I want to see a rule change. I hope there's a rule change, or at least a really clear understanding of when a red flag is going to come out versus when a red flag is not going to come out, because and give the teams opportunities to cool their cars down as soon as the cars come into the pits, because again, you know, that was just the circumstances in which willpower lost this race are just really stupid. We need to define what a justifiable red is and what an unjustifiable red is, and realize that some people are going to go home unhappy, and realize that, hey, guess what? There's a race tomorrow. So we're going to be able to get through this. It's okay. We can finish races under yellow. It's okay. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. The amount of support throughout the month of May was absolutely unbelievable. And I cannot wait to continue to produce content for you guys on all motorsports. I'm also going to be paying a lot of attention to that SRX race tonight, and hopefully I'll have some thoughts for you on that as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next video.